Richard, hi. It's so good to have you here. How
Thank
are you?
you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, and I see you've escaped from your puppy this afternoon.
I have indeed, because she would just bark through the whole thing.
Yeah,
So
don't they
yeah,
always?
yeah,
Which reminds me, I'm just going to turn off my phone so I don't get interrupted by my children, who are usually the ones that start talking to me
yeah,
halfway through. The number of times they FaceTime me right in the middle of things.
yeah, yeah.
Usually want some
Timing.
money, actually, or food. So it's
Yeah,
one of
no surprises there.
yeah. So, I mean, I thought probably the best way to start is for you to tell us about the company and exactly what you do.
Okay. Well, I'm the marketing manager for a company called PP Control and Automation. We're a strategic outsourcing partner for machine builders and OEMs who need to outsource production requirements, basically. So that could be, assembly based. It might be part, or it could even be full machine build. We have full suite of capabilities to build machinery.
Oh, I mean, I've came round for a tour not very long ago, and it's a fascinating place. I had a really good time with you, actually, which has
Yeah, yeah,
victimized you today. But it was so
yeah.
interesting seeing what you do. And I didn't realize you could manufacture in that way, which is
Mhm.
great if you're an entrepreneur with an idea and you're sort of sitting there thinking,
Yes,
I really don't know what to do. But
absolutely. Yeah.
But for those entrepreneurs, it's actually quite a high risk purchase decision, isn't it? So you're
Mhm,
trying to decide who's going to manufacture it, and it's got to be right.
mhm.
And as a result, I think you've I mean, it's because you're there and you've got quite a developed marketing function compared to many other manufacturers. So how do you approach sort of that high risk purchasing decision with your potential clients and maintain growth?
Well, I think initially it certainly can feel like high risk. It's a big decision to make, certainly, to outsource your production requirements. For entrepreneurs in particular, though, then it might be the only option. You know, you've got a lot of entrepreneurs with great ideas and all the funding and the backing they need, but no manufacturing facilities. So actually,
Or
the
knowledge,
decision.
probably.
Yeah,
Maybe knowledge, yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So actually, the decision to outsource could actually be quite an easy one. I think where it gets trickier is where you're dealing with, well-established incumbent machine builders and OEMs who have their own very big, in a lot of cases, manufacturing facilities. Um, and then that's all about timing. The decision to outsource usually comes because they're under certain constraints. They don't, they're growing. There's a lot of demand in their product, but they don't have enough space. They don't have enough skilled labor. They perhaps don't have the same um, product engineering and production capabilities to meet lead times. There's so many things that happen for manufacturers as they're growing that actually outsourcing becomes a viable option. Um, and at that point, probably quite an easy decision to make. But I know what you're saying. Initially, it feels vast, and there are a lot of stakeholders involved in that decision. Um, so yeah, in terms of the marketing, we're quite open that we and appreciate that these are concerns. So we're quite direct in addressing them actually. Um, and we say making outsourcing easy is our uppermost pledge. It's the company ethos, it's the manifesto. Every department sort of lives by this. And that should also come through in the marketing. We're doing everything we can to make sure that this this big decision is made easier because we're giving them all the support they need. We're holding their hands through the entire process, and there's everything they need to sort of build confidence in our capabilities. Just through visiting the website, downloading resources, and lots of other tactics. Always free as well, and always without a follow up or no paywall or barrier to
Mm.
entry. Everything is free. All part of this ethos that we make this easy for people.
And it's nice that your market, because marketing really leads on all sorts of messaging and sort of how you should present yourself to market. If your marketing department is working in the right way with the
Mhm.
management team, which I know you do, and it's nice that you wrap it all up with everybody in the business, that everyone
Mhm.
feels involved in the way that you're coming across to clients, and it's such
Yeah.
a powerful message when it's coming from everybody.
It is, yeah. I think if you're very lucky and you're an internal marketer, the company will be market orientated. They'll be customer centric, and luckily we are. If you're not, then it's a big cultural shift, and it's a lot of hard work to get there. But really, it's a growth hack. If you can be market orientated, understand your customers' pains and needs and all of those good things, and listen. Then a lot of the time that the messaging that you're talking about in the marketing campaigns off the back of that they just come because
Well,
you
they're
get
obvious, aren't they? Because they
yeah,
tell you.
they are, that's the right word, they are obvious because you're being told.
Yeah.
And so, and that bleeds into everything we do, from identifying the right types of businesses to work with and targeting them, to onboarding new customers. They'll have customer service representation. Their engineers will be in direct contact with our engineers, and project managers and account managers. So through the whole process, that making outsourcing easy is always top of mind.
And of course, the other side of that is there all those different levels of personnel, whatever they're doing, they're all really marketing as they go. They're communicating,
Yeah,
they're presenting a view of your business, which is what marketing is, isn't it? It's
yes,
showing the benefits of working for you. So that in
absolutely.
itself is important.
Well, it is, yeah. I think every department needs to understand good customer service, and every customer should have a really good experience. And most departments are customer facing now. I think since COVID, that's accelerated quite a lot. You have, the purchasing department talking to all sorts of stakeholders within a customer's business now because of things like supply chain constraints and all of these barriers. Everybody wants to understand what's happening and be involved in those conversations. So that's accelerated quite a lot to the point where everybody needs to truly understand what good customer service is, and good experience.
And how you present yourself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just going back to what you're talking about before, you've actually got two very distinct and different markets to go after. So you've got your entrepreneurial, somebody with a new idea, doesn't know how to manufacture, their new exciting products. And then you've got your manufacturers who are just up to their eyes and they desperately need to outsource something for whatever reason. So
Mhm.
for those two different markets, what strategies have you found most effective in reaching them? Because that's always the thing that everyone always struggles with. It's actually reaching these people.
Yeah. In terms of the methods to get in front of these people, there's not a lot of difference. I think the difference becomes in your positioning to those people and the messaging that you're using. But there are some things that we've introduced in recent years that are very specific towards targeting entrepreneurs. So we set up a support network called PP Plus, and this is over 20 organisations that are there to support entrepreneurs with innovative new technologies, particularly in green technology spaces, to bridge the valley of death and to help them commercialize. That's a
Yeah.
brilliant term, isn't it?
I
So
love that.
yeah, and to commercialize their products, and also keep manufacturing onshore. So that's a very distinctive, very clear strategy to getting in front of these people. We've literally built a network to support them. And then the other side of the coin, that would be what I'd call our traditional customer base. These are big incumbent machine builders. Um, and it's all about identifying the right types of businesses first. How you target them, there's lots of different tactics. I'm a big fan of being very direct. So yeah, might seem a bit old school, but things like direct mail is still really
Oh,
a good tactic.
yeah.
Um, and using digital means like LinkedIn as well. All the information you need on a prospect is there. All the
Yes.
people within that organization, you can quite quickly build an org chart. You can see what they're interested in. So if you wanted to be really hyper targeted, you can be. That works for our business. It wouldn't work for every business, I don't think. Um, but we're not looking for masses of new customers every year. we want 3 or 4 that are the right
Really good.
customers.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
add something and add value to you. No, it's
yeah,
interesting you talk about doing this sort of organizational chart and really targeting one business. We used to call that the war room technique, where you'd have everything up about them sort of on the
yeah,
wall, and you'd plan your attack, and
mhm,
who was going to talk to who depending on their interests, and
yeah,
and
yeah,
and who was going to match with them the best,
yes.
and approach it in that sort of way. But when you're dealing with those big clients and you really want to land somebody, it's a really good way of going about it.
It is, yeah. A lot of that work as well has sort of given us better idea into sort of the wider decision makers. So we'd always look at almost engaging in like peer-to-peer relationships, our CEO contacting their CEO or
Yes.
MD or um, ops director to ops director and that kind of thing. They're really important decision makers, but there are also things like application engineers, project managers, depending on the sector, that are actually quite heavily involved in purchasing decisions. And of course, CFOs, finance directors will always be involved. So
Yeah,
it's
you just
just
can't
about,
avoid them, can you?
well, you can't.
I
Yeah,
spent the morning talking finance. I know.
yeah. But you can imagine, the message to all of those people is very different.
Mm,
Um, and that kind of targeting sits in what I would consider almost short-term performance marketing stuff. We're trying to get somebody to make a rational decision. So we'll talk about features and benefits, and our production capabilities. Um, and it's quite a scary thing, but that's only about 5% of the market. Only about 5% of the market, as a rule of thumb, is ready to buy from you now. So if that was all you were doing, then you'd probably be wasting quite a lot of time, money, and resource trying to win, them over. So you need a bit of market intelligence, a bit of insight, which says, these are very possibly ready for outsourcing because you know that they're growing at a fast rate or whatever it is. You just need that little bit of insight, because it can mean wasting quite a lot of time contacting
yeah.
people individually, one at a time. That's a lot of time and a resource.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we use is we have a platform for digital mailing that allows us to see when people are clicking through, not just like how many, which is what
Mm,
lots of people have, but it actually tells you the name of the
yeah,
person, and you build up a profile, how many times they've been on the website and how many times they open these types of emails. So what were the
yes,
subjects they're interested in? And that
yes,
helps with exactly that kind
it,
of issue
it does. Yeah,
where you want to be sure that this person is actually genuinely interested and
yeah,
might be ready to buy if they're
yeah.
taking the time to read this stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
we do a lot of that, and I think we're quite lucky that we, through all the digital marketing tactics, that you have all that insight behind it,
yeah,
if it's set up correctly. And we feed all of that into our CRM system as well, so we can report on pretty much
yeah.
anything. Um, and so, yeah, there's not so much manual work. I remember when I started, everything was on a spreadsheet, and it was going down line by line and what's
Spreadsheets,
been going on.
paper.
Yeah, yeah. Things are a lot easier now. It can feel like too much data sometimes,
Yeah,
and you have to step back a little bit and just try and look at the bigger picture.
yeah,
But it is fascinating to see some of those little insights. We do, things like website tracking as well. We build like personalized landing pages for people we've targeted, so only they have access to a part of the website, and it gives them lots of free resources. But of course, we can track visits to that through Google Analytics. We can pick them up through website tracking. We can then see where they've gone afterwards.
yeah,
So there's all sorts of insights you can pick up,
yeah. Yeah, no,
which is fascinating.
well, they reckon that in a few years, every time you land on any website, the whole website will reconfigure itself through AI so that
Yeah,
it's for that person, right? And it will go, hi, Richard, how are you doing? I can see you want to buy a new puppy today.
yeah.
And here are some
Yeah,
options.
I'd be sold instantly.
Yeah, it's like, here are
Yeah,
10 puppies you could bring home now.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's quite a scary thought actually, but
Yeah,
I don't see why it wouldn't
yeah,
end up in that place,
I
yes,
think that's it.
particularly with AI.
Yeah, I think that's where we're going. That's for sure. So yeah, I mean, just go back to sort of things that challenges for people coming in to use a manufacturer. You've got the whole IP issue, you know, so protection of that,
Mhm.
and also the sort of quality control issue. So how do you communicate those? Because they're quite difficult to get across, even when you're sort of dealing with people.
Mm.
So how do you get those sorts of messages across to people that it's going to be okay?
Well, again, I think the most important thing is to address it first,
Mm.
before it becomes a query. And then so the best, I think the best way to deal with those sorts of queries is case studies and testimonials. And it seems obvious, but that is the best case scenario. You've literally got existing customers talking about those things, you know, the quality or IP protection and things like that. So, and again, going back to the make and outsourcing easy thing, there has to be processes in place which um, give prospects and customers confidence that we're going to do the right things with their products and with their build. So there has to be processes in place and agreements and things like that. But I think all in all, it's about trust, and we need to build that trust before, you know, anything. So as well, a lot of meetings and discussions with the sales team and with our CEO, factory visits, all of those are really good at building confidence with the prospect. But generally speaking, we don't see issues with those things. We just know that they will be apprehensions. Um, and I think a lot of the time we talk about apprehensions, but we don't see them as big stumbling blocks. Individually, they're just small things. We call them niggling critters, but they can build up to
Yes.
something which
Yeah.
gives you almost like this fear of letting go of the manufacturing process to somebody else. Feels like a really big decision to make. Um, so yeah, again, it's trust more than anything. Build trust, do that through case studies, testimonials, clear communication, really just quite basic things.
Yeah. And I suppose that goes for your technical expertise, you know, sort of engineering capabilities as well, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And like I said before, you've got customer engineers with direct communication with our engineers, um, and they're sometimes talking on a daily basis. A lot of the time as well, that's where sort of value add opportunities arise when engineers are talking to one another, and you can see, you know, a better design for manufacture, or we can suggest different components or cost saving solutions. So that the marketing piece kind of never ends. It's
It
just
never
handed
does.
on. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just handed on to somebody else, another department.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's important that we can showcase that expertise. Absolutely, I think you know, it's, you know, over 50 years building control panels helps, certainly. And
Yeah.
our size helps, and our investment in automation and lots of things that we do, which there's very little competition of our size. There are a lot of control panel builders, but not organizations of our size that started as panel builders and have expanded into pretty much any
Machines.
machine build capability. So we're a bit of a one-off, to be honest.
Yeah. So do you do a different marketing campaign for your current clients as opposed to your potential clients, or do you share the same information across both?
Sometimes we do share the same information. I think it's just familiarity with some of the messaging that we want to be consistent with. Most of the, you know, marketing activity is about generating leads, or it's about building the brand, and they're two very distinctive sort of. It's what I call a dual approach to the strategy. Um, and the two go side by side, but they're very distinctive in how we and the tactics that we use to execute them. But in terms of existing customers, again, a lot of that happens through other departments like customer service. The marketing function comes in when you need something maybe a bit more bespoke. You want to present something to an existing customer. So things like, you know, internal documentation or presentations and that sort of thing, marketing would get involved with. Vast majority of what we do though is to the outside world who either don't know us yet or are considering outsourcing and not yet a customer.
Yeah, but basically you're nurturing those internal relationships as well, because I think that's something that often gets neglected, that, oh, we've got them, they're done, they're
Yeah,
in, so
yeah,
that's it. Let's
yeah,
focus on outside again. And
yeah,
they think
yeah,
you've got to continue with that marketing, because they are your best referrers, aren't they? They're the ones that are
yeah.
going to go out and tell other people.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, every customer has what we call a one-page customer plan, which is something that has been produced by the marketing department, but then is inherited by the sales guys and managed by the sales guys. And part of that plan could be about winning new business. It might just to be retain what we've got, or it could be to improve our relationship. Or there's lots of objectives for every customer. Um, so yeah, yeah, you're right. It never ends. There's always nurturing, or there's always trying to keep customers happy and make sure that they get the best experience. So they all have their own individual plans.
I'm interested in the number of times you've mentioned sales, because even though marketing is it is a part of sales. I mean, ultimately,
Mhm,
it's a different end of it, but that's
mhm.
what we're all trying to do. Is
Well, I would say sales is a function of marketing. Actually,
I
the sales guys
was
love me
being
when I say
nice
that.
to the sales guys.
Don't be. No, sales is a function of marketing, and
Yes,
that's fine.
okay.
Uh, but yeah,
Yeah, it's like the debate over who's in charge, PR, marketing. Sorry, what's it? Anyway, I'm not going down that route because there'll be fights everywhere. Oh, it just stirs everyone up. But the point is, you're talking to each other, which actually
mhm,
can be quite an unusual thing. And often I've seen the marketing department just sitting there in the middle, looking after the brand, and
mm,
everything's very brand focused. And the sales guys have nothing to do with them at all, and they're going out
yeah,
selling. Um,
that's scary. It is
yeah,
quite
I
scary. Yeah.
totally agree. I totally agree. So, how do you work with those sales guys? I'm interested in the sheet that you give them. What else do you do to sort of support them, and for them to support your work and what you do?
I think it boils down to really good communication and sort of setting expectations in terms of, what we communicate and share with one another, how often we meet. We share access to the sales pipeline, so I can see exactly what's going on. Equally, they get access to my pipeline, which is pre-sales. So this is all companies we've identified and we're targeting, and they'll read all the notes on those companies. So we're very close. Um, but I think I've been in those positions where, as particularly when I worked at an agency where sales and marketing just wasn't coordinated at all. So I think personally, I made quite a big effort to ensure that I was close to the sales guys, and I did that by offering my support. So they'll have their own sales approaches, and I'm here to support that wherever I can. If it's so, I'll often get asked to string together presentations with certain things in, and update the sales documentation to make sure that it looks good, and again the customer's getting a good experience. And so I've built good relationships with our sales guys. Equally, they respect the marketing strategy. They respect the targeting, in particular, the sectors that we're going after. So they understand that they're going to need my input and my knowledge on those markets and those sectors. So it's just about, I think, it's about being very open with your sales function, um, and and showing that you want to work together. I think marketing departments can probably be just as at fault as sales departments in terms of not offering the support or offering to collaborate. Um, and yeah, if you do, again, it makes a huge difference, and you can all share in the successes as well. Then, which is great.
Yeah, and I'm interested that you're providing the information. It's actually quite a good line in what you're talking about between what you do and what they do,
Yeah.
and that's sort of clear. So, talk to me about your process for, if you've got a target that you want to get to, or somebody who's coming through as a lead through digital mailing. How does that then go through your system and through your sort of sales funnel and what you're doing to that sales guy so that he can land that contract? How do you manage that process?
Well, The first thing is sort of the pre-sales pipeline, I would call it, and the first part of that is identifying the right types of businesses. You then dig deeper into the decision makers within those businesses, and like we were saying earlier, is there any insight? Is there any market intelligence that might help? And again, before all this, we've identified the markets based on what we think there's growth in, we can get good market share, etc. But once we've identified individuals, we'll go through a targeting approach, and there will be a mixture of digital and physical targeting. So we do something quite nice actually called, which is like a video brochure, and we send those in the post with a personalized letter. On the back of that letter, they get a QR code to a page where they can download resources made specifically for them. So it's very personal, very hyper targeted. And then also we do things like LinkedIn targeting. So we'll connect the CEO or sales guys to the right people within the organizations and try and get conversations started, keep track of what they're doing. So it's a lot of research and a lot of sort of manual work to begin with. And we're just waiting for a bite, really, something where we can start a conversation. And if we do get positive engagement, we don't rush it into the sales pipeline. We make sure that they've visited the facility first, and there's some measures in place. But once they go into the sales pipeline, it is very much, owned by the sales guys. Then, if I need to get involved, I will. Things again like they're interested in this. Can you present something? But we have what we call a 4D sales pipeline. So that's the 4Ds are discover, diagnose, design, and deliver, and they're kind of self-explanatory. So they move through that process until it's won. But yeah, in terms of tactics, things like that, video brochures, great. Personalized letters work really well, and the LinkedIn digital targeting works really well as well. But you just have to make sure you're getting the message right, and you're targeting the right people. So yeah, I would say that's a handful that we've had quite a lot of success with.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a thorough pipeline and what strikes me is you're dealing with every single part of it, but you're not rushing it. And the point you made about not rushing it is so important, because
Yeah,
when it is a high risk purchase, it's not like they're buying washing powder. You
no,
need to take them at their own pace rather than
that's it.
pushing them too hard, too
A-
fast.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot as well that comes through our networks and collaborations. Um, I think I've said the word growth hack already this podcast, but collaborations really are a growth hack if you get them right, if you work
So
with the right
partnership,
people.
yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Particularly when you're looking at new markets that you're not currently in. If you've got technical partners or suppliers or existing customers that have networks that can just give you a bit of insight, that can really help. And a lot of the time you get direct referrals that way as well.
Yeah. Do you
Um,
ask for those? Because I find
absolutely,
just
absolutely.
asking and just saying, can you refer me to anyone? It's
Yeah,
amazingly well.
yeah,
It does work.
absolutely. It's the easiest tactic, but you have to set those partnerships up. So part of the marketing strategy that I presented at the start of last year, a big portion of it was on building collaborations, not just for that benefit, but to position us to particular markets, a bit like I mentioned PP Plus earlier. Um, but yeah, it does exactly that. It positions you to a market with extended capabilities through the partner networks. But it also gives you that bit of market intelligence. It gives you it can get you direct referrals, and absolutely we'll ask for them. And also it can build the brand. So a lot of the collaborations are their own distinct small brands, because we're just positioning them to a particular market segment. So yeah, collaborations, I would say, to any marketer, can consider it. How can you build them to effectively help you grow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talked about new sectors as well, and sort of looking at new and emerging markets like different technology sectors
Mhm.
that sort of seem to be popping up all over the place at the moment. And how do you go about approaching or making the decision that this is a market that you should be in?
There's a lot of research, a lot. I like to sort of get out as well, so visit the exhibitions and trade shows and events and roundtables, because all of these emerging markets will have those things, webinars and seminars, even industry publications. Every sector will have these things, so you can gather a lot of intelligence through those means. And I think with emerging markets, you do have to be careful because there's a lot of risk associated. So that's one of the reasons we set up PP Plus, was because we realised that actually a lot of these people won't be ready for outsourcing, perhaps for years to come. But we want to position ourselves as that partner when the time's right.
When it comes,
Yeah, hence the wider network. So before they outsource, they might need a design partner, they might need a finance expert, they might need sales and marketing consultation, so on and so forth. We're giving them that. So we're sort of setting up our stall again as that, that partner that makes things easy. But there are also emerging markets that are moving much faster. Things like clean energy and hydrogen,
I'm dealing with
renewables.
that at the moment. Yes.
Yeah, so they're moving faster. So you can sort of position your features, benefits, capabilities to those organisations. And I think as well, agri-tech, that seems to be moving, particularly with certain technologies. So again, it's important that you segment these markets down. It could be by technology, it could be by size of the business, whatever it is, and target that way by priority. And then it comes down to positioning. How do you position to those people with the right message? But yeah, that's one of my favorite things in marketing, is that research and then the analysis, and then all the tactics just fall out the other end, and all the creative.
That's the easy bit once you've spotted the market space, isn't it? And how to
I think people often start that end, the wrong end, though. That's the problem.
Absolutely.
And then that becomes a struggle then, because you're wondering, why doesn't this tactic work? Or I thought that was a really creative idea and nothing's happened with it. I think you have to start with the research, and in an ideal world, a company that's really market orientated, great, and customer centric, that's where you want to be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I mean, you're talking about all these different things that are coming in, and obviously we've got the whole sustainability issue and the industry 4.0 and all the rest of it. How are you addressing that within your marketing strategy, and how are you positioning yourselves with those things?
The industry 4.0 thing has been around for years now. It's almost not new anymore, and I think a lot of people found it difficult, particularly UK manufacturers and SMEs found it difficult to really understand, or where do I fit into this industry 4.0? What do I need to do? In our world, in control and automation, a lot of our prospects will already be there. They'll have, industry 4.0 will be well established within those organizations. So it's how do we internally, through our own manufacturing processes and through lean and through investment in automation, be able to match that capability. So we use PR a lot. So we'll do a lot of milestone stories, investment stories, to tell people that we're investing in these things. Sustainability, I think, is what industry 4.0 should have always been, this massive growth opportunity for UK manufacturing. I don't think industry 4.0 ever really was. But sustainability is so wide reaching, and if you consider it a priority as a UK manufacturer, then I think you're sort of going down the right path. Not just from an internal operations point of view. You want to be as sustainable as you can be, and I think that's your sort of moral obligation. But there are market opportunities in sustainability. We've already mentioned things like clean energy and green technology. That's where growth is, and it needs UK manufacturing support. So we're quite obviously positioned to support that, and we're quite adamant that we get that message out. So we use a lot of media partnerships and exclusives and PR to share sort of thought leadership on these things. And that's not just positioning to our target market, that's positioning to the entire manufacturing community. You know, we want PP to be a voice of authority on these subjects because we believe that they're really important. And again, going back to the collaborations that we've set up, they're all based on supporting UK manufacturing around sustainability, green, Industry 4.0, all of those things that we know is going to be where growth is for our economy.
So with the PR, do you focus purely on the manufacturing press? Or do you look at sector press? Do you look at national? Where do you go with your
Yes,
articles?
all of the above. So a lot of our stories will get published in the trade magazines and websites. That's almost a given. And then there are certain opportunities where we'll be able to get in front of national press. You know, we've done a lot with BBC News, including local news, Sky News. That's usually much wider topics like what I've just been discussing, you know, where we can have sort of a voice on the challenges the sector, the whole UK manufacturing community faces, or the opportunities that are in front of us. So it depends on what we're sharing, depends on where it ends up really. But yeah, as well, the verticals and sector specific magazines, publications, websites, all of the above.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
Yeah, it is.
A lot to do.
Luckily, we have a brilliant PR partner who's got all the connections. So all I have to do in that regard is brief him, and he runs off and does a brilliant job. So that's one thing I can, yeah, that's not necessarily on my plate, which is
Yeah,
good.
that's good. That's good. So, I mean, obviously, you spend quite a lot on your marketing. I mean, you have like a PR agency, and you're doing a lot. So, there's quite a big outlay happening there in terms of what you do. A lot of it is just your salary, your time,
Mhm.
and that cost. But there are other costs there too. So, how
Yeah,
do you justify that spend? Because there's always people who go, oh, what we're spending on the market. You know, you always get that,
yeah,
don't you? And
yeah, yeah.
and how do you demonstrate the return on your investment? Because I think that's something that everybody really finds hard within the marketing spot.
Yeah. Well, I think that the first thing is the strength of the pipeline. So every stakeholder has visibility of that pipeline, so they can see what leads have been generated and how. So everything is tracked that way. So you can literally see at a glance that this has come through marketing. You can dig a little bit deeper and see exactly how. So I don't get asked those questions much now because everyone has access to it. But I've been there where
Yes, I
you
think a lot of marketing people
yeah,
have.
where you're digging through and you're looking at what you've done and you know how much did that cost. And I don't get asked those questions a lot now because I think first and foremost I develop a strategy, and it's almost like zero-based budgeting. I won't start that strategy with a budget in mind. I'll say what I think we need to see this strategy through. Um, and that's always been supported. Over, you know, for the past 2.5 years I've been with PP, that's been supported. So there's a lot of confidence and a lot of trust there. Um, but also we have, as particularly again with digital marketing, you have all the analytics and metrics behind that activity if you need to prove something, or yeah. So there's lots of different ways you can do it. But again, yeah, look at the strength of the pipeline, look at what we're winning, and you know, how much new business each year. That's what I would say.
Does the CRM contribute to that? Have you found the
Yes,
transparencies come through having a CRM system? Because I know
absolutely.
lots of people don't have them. You know, they're
Yeah,
working off spreadsheets and everyone's got their own sort of spreadsheet they report back in a meeting. But
yeah.
do you find that's really contributed?
CRM is really important, and we're very active on the CRM. Um, so it's constantly been updated with information. That hasn't always been the practice at PP. We've done things, you know, old-fashioned ways too. But I think, you know, particularly over the past sort of 5 years where we've grown quite a lot, you have to change those approaches, and CRM was one of them, particularly for the sales team, for sales and marketing, and to track everything. But yeah, I've having worked for agencies and having lots of manufacturing clients, not many use CRM effectively. A lot of them try it and almost give up.
Yes, I've seen
Or
that
a lot,
so often.
yeah, or a lot of them just don't bother at all. Um, I think it's a lot of time and effort up front to really get a lot out of a CRM, but once it's set up, it kind of runs itself. You just need to be in there
Mm.
updating the information, and as long as that becomes part of your routine, and you're disciplined enough to do it, then yeah, they're hugely beneficial.
And is that just you, or is it the sales guys, or is it the guys on the shop floor who are in there? Who's contributing to the CRM?
So the part of the CRM I'm talking about is strictly sales and marketing function.
Right.
So operations and other departments have a different system, so
Okay.
they wouldn't cross over. Um, so yeah, it would just be the sales and marketing function, and all of us are in there every day. You can see updates, you can see follow-up actions. It's how we report on everything as well, which is why the data has to be good, because we're relying on this to build our reports.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's just being disciplined, in terms of how you use it and finding a good one. Some of them are horribly complicated. I've used lots of CRMs, having inherited them or having been forced to use them in other roles,
Kicking
and
and screaming. Yeah.
yeah, and they a lot of them can really overcomplicate things, and user friendliness is horrible, and then you just don't feel like, you know, you want to take the time and effort to learn it, and you need a good CRM, something that's just a bit more, just very self-explanatory, easy to
You don't need
update.
training on.
Yeah,
The second they say you need training on it, it's all gone wrong.
well, I've been on like training, CRM training and onboarding programs that lasted about a month,
Oh,
which just seems insane to me. I think
yeah.
the platforms, should be pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, these days it should
Yeah,
be. It should
yeah.
really be. That's interesting. So, what do you see as the biggest marketing challenges and opportunities for you in the next 3 to 5 years? What do you think's on the horizon?
We can't escape AI and the impact that AI will have on marketing and marketers. Particularly, I think in B2B marketing, I think we need to be quite careful, because I think what we've done for many years, particularly since sort of digital marketing has taken off, is that we've become a little bit lazy and a little bit predictable with our marketing output, and very performance marketing biased, and neglecting brand building and really important things like that, and neglecting research. And I think we have to be
Oh,
careful
totally
because
agree. Actually, we should go
yeah,
down the pub and discuss this. This is a
yeah,
topic in itself. Could have a
it
rant.
is, yeah, it is. It's a big topic, but I think marketers need to be careful because of that, because AI can replicate, at the very least, can replicate what these functions are doing. Copywriters and designers can replicate this stuff very easily now. And so if I was in that position, I'd be quite worried,
Mm.
because particularly in, the world of manufacturing, when you've got decision makers who can make, decisions and that kind of thing quite quickly, um, why would I invest in a marketer, or why would I invest in a marketing agency when can't AI just do it all? I think that's quite a scary
Yes.
thing.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but equally, I think there's just as much opportunity in using AI to support the marketing function. Again, back to research, the amount of money that you could spend on research, and I know big brands spend on research, which you can now replicate with synthetic data at, not even less than half the cost, and oh God knows how much quicker, within minutes rather than weeks.
Mm.
That's an amazing opportunity, because we need to get back to that as marketers, get back to the research,
Yeah.
dig in a bit deeper, finding the insight, finding the intelligence and what customers want. If AI can support that, that's fantastic. That's a big strategic advantage for a marketer. But yeah, there's a few sort of gimmicky things with AI as well, which I'm quite excited about, like generating audio. I really like the idea of using audio in marketing. Like podcasts like this is an obvious one, but There's things like a notebook LM, which I love because I'm obsessed with notebooks anyway. Since a child, I've either had a scrapbook or a notebook.
Notebook.
So this is the best sort of version of a digital notebook I've ever seen, and you input sources to it. So it could be, for example, my marketing strategy, and then it can strip it down into a table of contents, learning, you know, it will ask questions about the strategy you might not have thought about, and it can turn it into an audio a podcast, two people having a conversation about the sources you've input. I just think, oh, that opens up a world of interesting opportunities for different marketing tactics. And that's one of the things I'll be working on this year, is to use AI in that way to kind of also, how can I use AI to build new distinctive brand assets or brand codes? And that podcast is a really interesting one, because you've got two hosts which could effectively be given names, could become their own characters, could be part of your brand and tell your brand story. There's loads of little things like that happening with AI that I think, if we're creative enough, we can really use to our advantage. But yeah, overall, I would say to marketers, despite all of this, whether it's AI is scary or AI is really,
It depends on your
the
view.
best thing.
Yeah.
Whichever it is, I think we need to kind of get back to what makes marketing effective, and that's just to have a very clear, defined strategy,
I was just going to
which
say
is
strategy, which
yeah,
doesn't seem to be very often used these days.
no, which needs to be based on good research and customer insight. And I think we need to get back to that. If marketers focus on that, then it'll take AI a while to take our jobs.
Yeah,
But
totally
if we
agree.
yeah, but if we just if you just write blogs all day, we'll never compete.
Yeah, or just do the LinkedIn bit and that's it.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not what it's about at all.
no, no,
No. Oh, Richard, it's been a really interesting chat, and I honestly think we need to head down the pub and continue and have a little rant about stuff. But
yes,
maybe not today. Maybe another
no.
day.
Another day, yeah, we'll sort
Yeah,
that out.
but it's been great to talk to you, and thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'm sure everyone's found this really helpful.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Richard.